The team with the best record in the entire NBA right now is the Clippers, who at 13-2 are off to the best start in franchise history. Are you ready to buy that the Clips are the best in the NBA?
No. You know, by the time you get to the mid-20 games, you start to really suss this out. But I am buying, as I predicted, that they are the third best team, that if any team has the best chance to upset the apple cart and prevent a Warriors-Cavs rubber match, it is the Clippers, and I think they're demonstrating that.
Let me tell you something. I need to see more from Blake Griffin. I need to see more consistency. I love what Doc Rivers did in buffering the bench, particularly with Marie Spates there now.
They're deep.
I still think the Warriors and the Spurs have an edge, but I will tell you this. Nobody's rooting for the Clippers harder than me. I want them to win. I love me some Chris Paul, and I would much rather be in L.A. than Oakland in June.
Always about the weather. All right, Stephen A. Draymond Green's Warriors teammates are campaigning for him to win Defensive Player of the Year after he was runner-up for each of the last 2 seasons. Will his teammates help the voting?
I think they will. I think they should. I love the fact that Draymond Green is finding his niche. To me, he's the Energizer Bunny for the franchise. This team, as potent as they are, it does not work without Draymond Green. I hope he gets it.
Yeah, I think it probably helps. It's like, you know, the Academy Awards, right? Like the studio gets behind a certain picture. It's every year it's Draymond or Kawhi, and if Anthony Davis can stay healthy, he'll be in that conversation. And so, yeah, push his candidacy. Why not?
All right, so the Sixers also won last night, and we're trusting the process here. I just want to show you a quick picture if we could get a reaction. Is that Joel Embiid in his jersey out?
Out at a nightclub. I will say this. I'm not mad at him. He deserves it. This brother can be big time if he's healthy. I'm not trusting the process because that reminds me of Sam Hinkie. But I do trust Jerry Colangelo and Brian
I'm just the opposite. The process has changed. Trust what process? When Hinkie had a process, okay, maybe there was something to trust. I don't know what the process is here other than let's let the good players that Hinkie collected start to play.
They threw away seasons. I'll never forgive the 76ers under Hinkie.
They got Embiid.
They threw seasons away. Seasons, not one.
Trust the process.
First Take is brought to you by Liberty Mutual Insurance. Liberty stands with you. And Subway Restaurants.
Oh, snap, Max, say you want to deliver, I'll bring a pizza to you. Shout out to Anthony Rizzo for getting the final out. There's no need for Cleveland fans to sit there and pout. Take me out to a ball game, put the flavor in your ear. Debate Stephen A. Max will make a champion this year.
So the MVP race every year has been one of repetition. 11 out of the last 15 have played the QB position. But this is the year, in my opinion, that trend will hit remission.
Now it's time for the offense to make a statement. Behind what's his name? Oh yeah, Seaman. I almost forgot. Because in recent weeks, I haven't been seeing a lot.
First Take call me. I'm ready for my debate. Molly Karen make it happen. Bart Scott, can't wait.
Stephen A. Smith, Max Kellerman, Molly Karam. How you guys doing?
Me and my co-host, Sonic the Hedgehog here, would like to talk about the Packers of Green Bay and how they have turned into the New Orleans Saints.
You guys like when people talk with their hands? Well, I'm talking.
Just call me the unknown First Take fan here because I have to sit here and defend why Dak Prescott, not Ezekiel Elliott, is the NFL MVP.
Fireplace. Max, Stephen, fireplace. Verbally. Behind me, fireplace. Coming at you verbally, he.
It was a pathetic performance on the part of the Spurs. You know, they had some guys out, we had some guys out, but they had a lot more out than we did. And I thought we showed a lack of humility, a lack of respect for the opponent, a very pathetic performance at both ends of the court, both in execution and in grunt, in fiber, in desire. It was an awful performance. Oh, and they deserved to win the basketball game. I forgot to say that.
Well, that was Greg Popovich after last night's Spurs 96-91 win over the Mavericks. Clearly not pleased with his team despite the victory. Max, what's your reaction to Pop?
Just watching that now, it's I had seen it earlier, but just watching it now, Jay-Z lyric popped into my head from the blueprint, from the first one. He don't slack a minute. boy, Pop don't slack a minute. This is why he is the best coach in basketball by far. And it's why, other than Belichick, the success he's had, proportional to his sport and other coaches in his sport, is unparalleled in the current American landscape of professional sports. He doesn't take anything for granted. When Tim Duncan was active, he'd be barking at Tim Duncan. He treats everyone the same. He expects everyone to do their job. He does not allow for sloppiness, or he said a lack of humility. And I take that to mean the arrogance that comes with being successful. He expects you to take nothing for granted and execute, and it makes him the best.
Greg Popovich is a winner, and Greg Popovich is somebody that's allergic to celebration. His 1100th win last night. That's what this was mostly about. Everybody's happy and very congratulatory, and it's the perfect opportunity for him to say, no, there's nothing to celebrate, because he never wants it to be about him. It's who he is.
Let's go a step further. So over the weekend, Greg Popovich, he spoke to teenagers in the community at a town hall, local high schoolers at the Carver Community Cultural Center, about social issues in America. So with the help of renowned African-American scholar and activist Cornel West, Popovich answered questions about topics ranging from sports, race to politics, to the interaction of police in the community. Spurs players and their families also in attendance. Stephen A., what's your reaction to him and this team involved in this town hall?
Well, first of all, I was very, very touched by it, but far from surprised. I say this with affection and deference and love for the Greg Popovich that I know through the likes of the great Larry Brown and others. I've religiously called Greg Popovich one of the biggest phonies you'll find. And I say that affectionately because Greg Popovich, that acerbic individual that you see during those television interviews, it's nothing like that. He's one of the most sincere, one of the most decent human beings you will ever find in your life. He is a good man. He is great for the NBA. He is loyal. He is special in ways that cannot be measured. I covered Larry Brown for all 7 years. All 6 years he was in Philadelphia. Larry Brown loves this man, reveres this man. He's like a protege of Larry Brown, but Larry Brown looks up to him just like he looks up to Larry Brown. I've had the pleasure of I don't talk to Greg Popovich much. We just exchange pleasantries whenever I see him. But there's a core decency and realness to him that you don't see very, very often. He cares about people. He cares about the community. As we learned during this post-election situation, his reaction to it all, he cares about this country. He cares about the desolate and the disenfranchised. And anybody who's associated with him knows this. Monty Williams is now GM in San Antonio. We all know what happened to Monty Williams, the tragedy that involved his wife, and it's just I can't even put into words. I'm so sad for him. Greg Popovich, one of the first people there. San Antonio Spurs, one of the first organizations there. Peter Holt is a great, fantastic owner that represents it. And you just look at these guys. And I read about this, and I imagine those kids in that community. I imagine the players there, the staff, management, as well as the players and the coaching staff. You just can't say enough. There's no surprise here whatsoever. It's not an accident that this military man, who's a great coach and a 5-time champion, also happens to be the next coach to succeed Mike Krzyzewski as coach of Team USA. There is no better individual in the profession of basketball to represent the United States of America than Greg Popovich, because he epitomizes everything our country purportedly stands for, and he does it in exemplary fashion. I have always had incredible admiration for this man. This is the latest reason why, too.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about Greg Popovich's America, too, because that's the America I'd like to live in. President Obama made this point in the run-up to the election, and others have made it obviously as well. We are great because we are good, right? That's what makes America great, the fact that we're good. And Greg Popovich is not only one of the most successful coaches in the history of American team sports, but he is great because he is good. It was no surprise that the Spurs hired the first female assistant coach. It was no surprise that they really pioneered and exploited international players in the international scene, the so-called immigrants to our NBA, that he has produced this kind of inclusive culture on the Spurs, that he spoke out after the election beautifully. In Yiddish, there's a word, it's called mensch. That's what Greg Popovich is. He's a mensch. Mensch translates roughly to human being, but, you know, in the best sense of the word, of the idea of humanity. And Greg Popovich is a mensch, and he makes you proud to be an American. Like, I don't know how else to put it.
He's real and authentic. I remember a moment, I was at a game. The Spurs, I forgot who they were playing against, but they won the game. But Tim Duncan had missed his rotation on a, defensive rotation. And the opponent had a wide open shot, and he missed it. Spurs win the game. And all you see is Greg Popovich glaring at Tim Duncan, and then he walks off. Tim Duncan has a somber look on his face. The reporter goes up to him, and they say, "We saw Popovich looking at you." He didn't say anything, though. Tim Duncan looked at her, and he said, "He didn't have to. You just knew." Because this is what Greg Popovich is. He knows what he teaches. He knows what he mandates. He's fair-minded. He holds you accountable. He's very, very big on doing your job. And one of the things that is a misnomer about him with the acerbic tendencies he displays, it's because he has a problem with the league and the networks, literally where you have to do an interview during the game. He is adamantly opposed to being bothered during a game to do an interview. And so that's his way of dressing it.
You know what else he shows? He's a military guy.
Yes,
he's
he
a
is.
strong guy, right?
Yes, he is.
He's a highly efficient and successful guy, right?
Yep.
What he does works. But you don't have to be a bad guy to be all those things. He's a good guy, and he's all those things.
But he doesn't mind if you think he's a bad guy because you don't know him. And he cares about what he knows about himself, not what outsiders think. And also, he never hesitates to give back because he always knows what was given to him. When he won the championship, when the Spurs won their first championship, when they beat the Knicks with Latrell Sprewell and those boys, their very first game of that next year was against the Philadelphia 76ers and Allen Iverson. Greg Popovich got his championship ring and walked over to the Sixers bench and sat down next to Larry Brown to show him the ring. Why? Because he knew that Larry Brown played a role in him ultimately capturing that NBA championship because of all Larry Brown had taught him. These are the kind of things where when we talk about me sitting in this chair, I'm incredibly blessed to have been exposed to those experiences, to see the impact that those individuals have had not only on their lives with one another, but on the lives they've touched in the coaching profession. Greg Popovich is a special man.
And in the community, and that's why the team rallies around them. And the Spurs, you can't count them out every single year.